When did we first meet?
When did we first meet?
I guess it was in high school. And that goes back to 1938.
That was the first year of high
That's
school.
right, that's right. And you lived on Bedford Avenue? No.
No, that was Paul. You remember
Paul
lived on Bedford Avenue.
And you lived?
And I lived in an apartment house on Ocean Avenue.
That's right, of course. And
across the street from the East Midwood Jewish Center.
And I remember walking to your house one Sunday.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
On December 7th, 1941. And when I got to your house, you and your father, and I guess maybe others in your family, were glued to the radio. And H.V. Kaltenborn, remember him?
Yeah.
Was announcing the attack, Pearl Harbor attack. I remember that. Remember that? That's a very positive image in my...
Why were you attracted to each other?
Oh, I wouldn't say we were attracted.
Well, that's a poor verb, but what was it that made you seek each other out as friends?
Well, I think we were all members of a certain group within the high school.
The nerds?
I think we were all nerds. That was the thing to do those days.
I don't think of myself as nerdy, but
No.
I know that you and I were a pretty good team. I mean, you helped me out on a lot of stuff that I was working on.
I don't remember.
I do. Oh, I remember that vividly. Remember the honor scroll? You did that. You were the.
I remember.
You were the technical editor.
Oh, I remember.
And
I had devised a way of typing right where the margins were even.
Oh,
yes.
Yes. Flush right. Well, flush right, flush left.
Yeah.
It's justified, right? Justified.
Yeah.
Yes, justified.
I drew lines on a paper and typed the material and then counted number of spaces and retyped it to include extra spaces in between the words so the margins were flush.
Yeah, and now people go out of their way to
That's the
flush
best
left.
thing I ever did in my life. I haven't equaled that since.
We went to Stissing Lake and we edited a newsletter.
Yes.
And
Now,
we waited on
Stissing Lake was?
That was a camp.
Yeah.
Run by old Pop Zuckerman.
Uh-huh.
Pop Zuckerman.
And a mean son of a gun he was.
But he kept you laughing in class. He had a theory. He was very funny. He had a theory that while you were laughing, he would throw some information into your mouth. And that was his way of teaching. And he was very funny, but he was. And I remember the first time we were waiters. So we paid, I think we paid half the camp tuition. So we got the privilege of being waiters and putting out this newsletter. Which, when I think about it, it was probably a pretty good deal for him. But I do remember...
I remember $75 that we paid or didn't pay. I thought maybe we got in... No, I think maybe we got in for nothing. And the penalty, all the other waiters had their free time between meals, but we had to put out the newspaper.
Maybe that was it.
And then they wanted to know, well, how come we were working and they weren't working? We had to tell them.
Were you happy there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a good summer.
And then what did we get out of that summer? What did we come home with?
A business. Yeah, we started a...
You were entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we had an advertising business that we did. And
so that's where it all started.
Actually, I still have some of those things that we produced. It's tucked away in my senior log. I have some copies of stuff that Irwin, Marvin, and I called the Magi.
Yeah.
Marvin. What was the M.A.? What was the A? It was Marvin.
Alan.
Oh, Alan. Oh, Alan. That's right.
Yeah, Alan.
And George and Irwin. Yeah. So the Magi. And we would do these circulars and mimeograph them, and then distribute them to people's houses on Saturday morning. And when we got through, we would go to Alan's father's pharmacy and sit at the counter and order anything we wanted in the way of ice cream
Were
sodas.
the circulars for the pharmacy? Were they, what?
Did
Yes, they were, but they were, yeah, they were. Yeah,
Did you
I think
make
that's
any money?
I don't remember whether we made any money.
Yeah,
We
all
got
right,
to,
so-
we got anything we wanted from behind the counter. That
Well,
was,
that's, so you were paid in
weren't
kind,
No,
yeah.
all right.
well, we could probably,
Yeah,
we might have made a little bit.
Yeah. My memory isn't good of recent things, but when I go back then, those things I can remember. As far as Alan Wilner and his father, who owned Wilner's drugstore, we used to be paid 35 cents to deliver the circulars that he had printed. It had nothing to do with our
But we
business.
didn't do the circulars, okay.
No. But we did find a real estate man.
Yeah, and
We
Irwin
had
was
a
the
store.
Irwin was the salesman,
Yeah.
and I wrote the ads, I think, and we produced them together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're talking about events that are at least 20 years.
At least 20. Yeah. That's as far back as we can remember anyway. Everything compresses into 20 years ago.
By the way, honey,
Years ago.
I forgot to tell you to remove the lens cover.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Cut.